Welcome back. Our guest in the last segment of Citizens Forum is Will Smith, and we're going to be talking about consciousness. Will, thank you very much.
Yes, today, well, I thought of the things that are going on in the elections, both here and in the United States, are just getting to be so silly. So I thought I'd just kind of start off by making a preposterous assertion. At least it's going to sound like it's a preposterous, that we already live in a full-time, perpetual direct democracy, but we just don't know how to use it. And so
You're right, that is preposterous.
It sounds preposterous, but I'm going to try to convince you in this show and over the course of whenever I show up, or if I get my own show, that reality 2.0 is almost here, and that it's got a lot of really interesting things, and it's even more profound than going from a world that was flat to a world that was a sphere. And you'll notice that this is the same kind of transition of consciousness, that we're going from a flat world to a round world. Notice that nothing really changed. The Earth didn't suddenly become round, and it had been flat all of a sudden. But what really happened was just our consciousness changed. So in the past 2 weeks, I've participated in a change of consciousness for myself, which is I just got this random email from a website called academia.edu. And it was from Jack Safarty, who is he had just put up a paper on this website. He's the guy who is the professor in Back to the Future. Remember that?
I remember the movie. I remember the crazy professor, yeah.
Did you see all three of them, or did
No,
you just see?
I stopped after the first one.
So anyway, so he's very interested in time travel. And so he put up this paper that, and started a discussion that said, is our universe a computer simulation, a holographic computer simulation? And this he labeled this a teleological problem. Now, teleology is the study of why something is. In other words, this discussion assumes that there's some reason why the universe is the way it is. It didn't just randomly happen. And I think this is really interesting for all of us in this discussion of consciousness, because it just shows us that we're not used to dealing with things at this level. I mean, for scientists to talk about why something is so rather than just how it is, that's an interesting shift, isn't it? Because a scientist is usually looking at just facts. So there has to be.
Guess, yeah.
So teleology implies that there's some intention, there's some reason why the universe should exist like this. So anyway, I don't claim to understand the equations behind quantum physics, but I just get the big picture here. The things I take away from it are might be considered a little bit odd. The first one is that we're all unconscious, because we have this incredible power to influence things at the subatomic level, but we're seemingly not able to do that.
So what does that mean, to influence things at the subatomic level?
It means we should be able to just create, we should just be able to walk around and change reality, because our reality is created. And this is what the Russian scientists that I'm reading, Grigori, Grabovoi, and Arcady, Petrov, that's what they're saying, is that we don't understand the world around us. What's really so is that the world is created by us real time, that our consciousness creates reality, and not just us, but any other sentient being. So the image, I like to think of the image that they're portraying as kind of like the sun. So there's a you can call it God, or you can call it an energy source, or love, or whatever it is. It's this energy that some kind of energy that runs the entire universe, and that becomes matter. So in other words, our matter is created out of energy. And so the image that I like to think of that is that we're like raindrops making a rainbow. So we're falling down through the sky. Whether we're conscious of the rainbow being there or not, it gets formed. And so the rainbow is formed by virtue of the sun shining through us and then forming the rainbow. And what it's saying is we have different levels of consciousness. So one level of consciousness might be that we don't know that we're creating a rainbow, which is kind of where we are. We don't know that we're creating all this stuff. We just laugh at quantum physicists who try to tell us that, or magicians. But the next one is we say, gee, oh look, I'm making a rainbow. The drop could say I'm making a rainbow. But then the next step is maybe the drop could shift its shape. And so the rainbow, all the drops together could shift the shape and the rainbow could look differently. Or all the drops could start humming and the vibrations of the drops would make a pattern, a shimmering pattern in the rainbow. And I mean, that to me is a pretty good image of what's happening, because it allows us to have different levels of consciousness.
So are you saying that, for example, we think we have a huge problem with climate change, but I think what you're saying is that if we can shift our consciousness, we can get rid of that problem. It won't
That's
exist
exactly
anymore.
what I'm saying. And
well, I hope you're right.
And what I'm saying also, and I've said this in past shows, is that this is the only way that humans make any progress, is that we have to get pushed into the corner, just like in the movies, just like in the myths. We have to get pushed into the corner and, oh my gosh, there's no way out. And then we find out, oh, we just jump up to the next level. And what I'm saying is the next level is that we're losing our inability to affect reality directly. We're going to get to the point where we don't have to push atoms around so much, but we use what's called controlled clairvoyance. And so that leads to, do we have enough time for another 2 minutes or something, do you think? Or
I have no idea where our time is.
Okay.
5 minutes.
So the one of the things that we talk about in this show a lot is what is this reality, what do we call it? Consensus reality.
Oh, right,
the reality that everybody agrees on.
Okay, right.
Okay, so that's not the only reality that exists. There's a reality for each person. There's a reality that each person is moving around in, and we don't have any good words for how that works exactly, but we can talk about concepts at least. So this consensus reality can be, instead of being involved in consensus reality, we can, in reality 2.0, we have something which I like to call discrete reality, which is your reality is what you sense and what you see, and my reality is what I sense and what I see. And we've been dumbed down to where we can't really, I mean, if a kid sees something, like if you're walking around with your child and he says, "Dad, I just saw a gnome over there," you don't say, "Oh really? What was he wearing?" You say, "You didn't see a gnome." That's what you say to your kid. And so pretty soon, they don't see gnomes anymore. They don't see whatever it is that they're seeing. And there's some things about this in movies, like there was a thing in
the school system probably does a lot of that.
Yeah, the school system does that. Yeah. So we don't encourage this, but in fact it exists. So I'm going to bring up two different examples of discrete reality. And the first one is just, because our society is primarily, the basis of it is Christian, based on, so most people know the Bible story where one of the disciples, I think it was Peter, came up to Jesus and said, "Hey, we got to pay taxes. What are we going to do?" And Jesus said, "Well, you don't really have to pay taxes. I mean, it's not really what you have to do. But if you really want to pay him, so just to avoid trouble, just catch a fish and there'll be a coin in his mouth and it's enough to pay your taxes." So the question is, I mean, if you read that, and I mean, I don't even know, I know I've read it before, but it didn't really enter my mind what's going on here. But the idea of the Russian scientists is that everybody has as these discrete realities that they can be aware of. And so in this case, Jesus was aware that there was a fish there. He could somehow, with clairvoyance, see that there's a fish there. And so he just said, "Go do this." And because that might sound outlandish to people, I found another one. A friend of mine came over and said, "Hey, remember that old song, the Harper Valley PTA?" And it's about, it's from the 60s, I think, or maybe the 70s. And it's about this little girl who comes home and she's got a note from the Harper Valley PTA, and they're saying, that her mother is immoral and she shouldn't be bringing up her little girl. And so the mother goes to the PTA and just lays into him and says, "Hey, you've asked me for a date 3 times. You're drunk all the time. You come in with a hangover, all this stuff. These Harper people are just immoral and liars and everything." And so this friend of mine wanted to make a parody of the song. I don't know what for exactly, but anyway, so I started reading about the song. It was a really interesting thing. This woman who sang the song, she was unknown. It was a one-hit wonder. And the producer heard her sing another song that he didn't really particularly care for, but he had a song in his back pocket, which was this Harper Valley PTA song. And he just knew, with her voice and that song and everything that was going on in the United States about the hypocrisy and everything that was going on, that it would be a hit. And he said, I'll give you $1 million song if you can get that woman to sing it. And so she sang it. It happened. And they threw in something from Laugh-In. That's the day my mama socked it to the Harper Valley PTA. You know, it's really an effective song. And so this guy was tuned in to this reality that this would be $1 million song. So that's what I'm talking about. Nobody else knew about that. Nobody else could see that. Nobody else could sense that that was so, but he knew. So that's what we're looking at, is encouraging that in ourselves, that we have these innate capabilities and getting them out to where, as the Russian guys say, there's this point where you have to get over the hump or the threshold of being able to influence reality. If you're just watching, it's one thing, but if you're actively seeing, then it's something else, and you can change.
What can we do to influence some reality here in a positive direction? Is there?
What we're doing the right things. We're finding out the way the world really works instead of pretending that we can't see it. So these are really important things. I mean, we can't just let our leaders tell us what's true. We can't have our leaders show us something on TV and say this is what's so, because it's not.
Yeah. You know, what I've found is being able to go into a space that is still at least a little bit natural, away from the corpo, techno, car-based lunatic society we all have to live in, and just stepping back into the world of nature, even for a few minutes, and just see the speed at which nature works and the beauty of nature and the every part of it.
That's exactly right. You're saying some type of meditation. It's an altered state of consciousness where you're quiet and your brain isn't going, oh my God, what are we going to do about this? Yeah, so that is a really big part of it right there.
And that's where we're going to have to leave it. Will, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for watching Citizens Forum this week.